Good morning, everyone. Can everybody hear me okay? Do sound check. Say the word cowboy. Say the word baseball. Say the word ice cream. Okay, can you tell that I'm an audiologist? Those are the words that we do during a hearing test to check your hearing. I'm really excited to be here today to talk to you all about one of my passions, which is hearing and communication technologies, hearing assistive technologies. I know that I drop a lot of information and I will try not to talk too fast. All of the handouts are in the app, so I made sure that you had that available to you so you don't have to write down notes. My email address is also on there, so please feel free to reach out to me. Over the years, since I've done the NF Summit, I've supplied that, and people over the years have actually contacted me offline, which is pretty awesome. All right, so let's begin. Who am I? I am an audiologist. As I mentioned before, I am also a late deafened adult. I lost my hearing due to what's called autoimmune inner ear disease. So I grew up with completely normal hearing until I was about 30. And then I was actually already an audiologist in the field. So I like to say that audiology picked me. There was no family history of hearing loss in my family, so it definitely came as a surprise. I use bilateral cochlear implants to hear. I am also fluent in ASL, so I can use spoken English or ASL to communicate. I love technology. One of my nicknames is Techie Tina. If you look for me, I'm on as Techie Tina on Instagram. I have a Facebook page where I have information, and I just love to post about different kinds of technologies. I'm also a mentor and an advocate. I have worked with many families, adults, children, in terms of navigating this journey of hearing loss. I'm also an advocate. This is not the presentation for that, but one of my passions is theater accessibility. I grew up doing lots of musical theater. My kid is actually a theater major, proud mom moment, and I love advocating for it. I don't love that I have to advocate for it, if that makes sense, but that is a true passion of mine. I love to make lists. And so if you follow me, and you'll see a couple of them during today's presentation, I actually had to make a list of my lists because I have so many. I retitled myself as a communication access engineer. Everyone that is in the room right now can consider themselves a communication access engineer. We look at a situation, we see that there's a barrier, and we try to figure out how to make it better, or how to fix it, or to get the access that we need. That's just a little bit about me. The top picture on there is literally what my desktop looks like. I have all the devices going with all of the screens. The bottom left-hand picture is an x-ray of my head. I had to go to the chiropractor. I had a neck problem, and he had to do an x-ray, and I said, do you need me to take off my glasses or my devices? He's like, no, and that is the picture that came out. So you can see all of the hardware that's in my head. And I've been an audiologist now for, well, over 20 years. I love what I do. And hopefully some of the information that I'll share with you today is something that you can use from the perspective as a professional, but also from the perspective of someone that uses this technology. I'm going to start talking about remote microphone systems. Remote microphone systems are things like what I'm using right now, right? I'm able to use this microphone, so right now, if I'm close to you, my voice sounds at a different level. If I move across the stage, the sound is going to remain the same. Why? This is the distance that matters, okay? This distance doesn't change, which is why you have a consistent signal. If we're in a noisy setting, because my voice is closer to this microphone, it's going to also overcome the effects of background noise. So my voice will be louder than background noise. The signal is a lot better. So I'm gonna do a quick test. I'm gonna cover the microphone right now, and you're not gonna hear my voice as loud. And that's what the advantage can be. You can use remote microphones in one-on-one settings. How many people here use personal amplification? Like a hearing aid, or an auditory brainstem implant, or anything like that, okay? And so if you have a remote microphone system that can connect to your device, it can help you hear in situations like large group and small group. Another thing, another example that I'm gonna show is this Bluetooth microphone, which is about the size of my pinky. I use this when I am doing like a Zoom call because I want my voice to be nice and clear so that if I'm using something like automated captioning, that I'm giving it the best chance. There are remote microphone systems that you can also, again, use with your device in different situations. How many people here have children that have NF2 or NF1 or use personal amplification? Okay. In school, so if you were to kind of define me even more in terms of audiology, I am an educational audiologist. So I work in the schools with kids that have hearing loss. I do hearing screenings, diagnostics, things like that. This is the type of equipment that we use. If you're not familiar with how a remote microphone system works, there's basically two parts. There's the microphone or the transmitter that the teacher will use. That Phonak touchscreen, which is in the upper left-hand corner, is the most prevalent system that we use in the schools today. And then the second part is some kind of receiver that gets that signal from the transmitter. And that can either be something that is embedded within the hearing aid or cochlear implant, or you may need to use some kind of adapter. But just like the way that you are experiencing an amplified voice right now, that's what the kid is gonna hear. So they are able to hear their teacher, no matter where the teacher is in the room, overcome the effects of background noise. Now, it's not perfect. Just like personal amplification is not perfect, people assume when they look at someone, oh, you have a hearing aid, or oh, you have an auditory brainstem implant or a cochlear implant, you can hear. We know that's not the case, right? And so we just want to give them the best possible chance. There are also microphones or transmitters that are designated for what we call home and community use. Let me go back a little bit. That microphone, the Phonak touchscreen, is designed to work for the teacher wearing it. You can also take it and put it in the middle of a table. If you're doing small group work, you can take that microphone and point at people also if you are in a group situation. So it's pretty versatile. With these microphones that you see, these are more designed for one-on-one use. So going to a restaurant, maybe being in the car and being able to hear the people next to you or people that are behind you. But it's always good to have this option for home use as well, because kids are only in school for a few hours a day. We also need to be able to generalize all of this communication and language when they go into the home. And for adults, this is also very helpful in terms of being able to understand people around you. How many people here have heard about the new Bluetooth protocol called Auracast? Okay. This is something that I'm, as a geek, really, really excited about. So Auracast is a new Bluetooth protocol. It's also known as Bluetooth LE audio. And it is a technology that will allow for a bunch of different applications, which I'll talk about in a moment. The thing to remember about Auracast is even though this protocol has been out for a couple of years, our manufacturers are still working on creating products. How many people remember what VHS is? VHS tapes. How many people remember what DVDs are? Okay. How many people here had one of those players that was a combination VHS and DVD player? Okay. That's what it's going to be like also with Auracast. This is technology that is emerging. It will get to the point where Auracast is going to be prevalent. You know, people like the audio video company that we have here today will probably have a transmitter that can send the signal. But right now, it's not there. It's going to still take a few years, but it's really exciting. Why? How many people here have a Bluetooth device that they use to listen, whether it's earbuds or if they have hearing aids or an ABI? I don't know if ABIs, you can do Bluetooth? Oh, through the mini mic?
It's the Nucleus 8.
Okay. Through the what? I'm sorry.
It's a Nucleus 8, so it has that.
Oh, so, okay, the processor that she has Bluetooth built into it as well. That's awesome. So how can you use this new Auracast platform? You can use it with assistive listening. So this transmitter that I'm using right now will send the signal to her ABI through this Bluetooth through Auracast, okay? So it can help in that situation. For people that are blind or low vision, you can also use Auracast you can have the audio describer talk into like some kind of transmitter. It'll go Bluetooth to their earbuds if they don't have hearing loss. Because it's also digital, you have all of these layers, right? You can do multi-language support. So I was very pleased to see that, that CTF is also providing these sessions in Spanish. So if there was someone here that was listening to a different language, the translator would be speaking into the microphone, and it can travel wirelessly also to that individual listening to the other language. Now, public announcements. When you have Auracast, so there's some kind of transmitter, whether it's worn like this, whether it's a transmitter that's part of AV, you have your device. The third part is, how do you know how to connect? How do you know what's available? And so there will be something called an Auracast Assistant. Right now, it's looking like it's going to be some kind of app on your phone. So for example, if you were to be going to the airport, you would look at your phone and be like, oh, I can select airport public announcements. Oh, I can also pick gate G15. And so anytime there's any kind of announcement in that situation, it will go directly to your device, whether it's Bluetooth earbuds, any kind of wearable like that, or personal amplification that has this Bluetooth capability. Now, right now, there are only 2 products that I know of that have the ability to get Auracast. One is the Nucleus 8. The second one would be a hearing aid called the Resound Nexia, Nexia. Okay? So silent screens, how many people here have gone to Buffalo Wild Wings? Right? With all of the screens, right? And even though the screens are off, it's still noisy. What if you wanted to go to Buffalo Wild Wings because you wanted to watch March Madness? And you want to watch screen number 2, but it's silent, and they don't often turn on the closed captioning. With Auracast, that TV might have a transmitter built into it. You can use your assistant, say, I want to watch screen number 2, and it will go straight to your device that you're listening to. So very, very exciting. Things like touring systems, if you are going on a tour of a museum or something like that, that is another thing. Like you step in front of a display, it has an Auracast transmitter, and you can hear what's being said. So Auracast is something that is very exciting in terms of new technologies that are coming out. Let's talk a little bit about apps. Of course, we have apps that we can use in collaboration with personal amplification, and you can do multiple things like change programs, change volumes, check battery status. Did you know that as a parent or as a family member, you can also sometimes check to hear if the microphone is working on the device itself? So that is a way that we can troubleshoot, especially for young children that are not good reporters yet. That is one feature on some of the systems that are out there. Sometimes we have to use the app to stream any kind of media that we want to listen to. How many people like to use the locate devices part of the app? Okay, when the kid leaves it in the bathroom or leaves it at school or in the car and you're trying to find it, that is something that can be very helpful. Oftentimes there are also menus that talk about how to troubleshoot equipment. And in some situations also, you can actually use that app as a remote microphone. So lots of different ways that you can use apps that go with devices. So here are the first set of lists that I'm going to share with you today. This app list, actually, the one for Apple devices, was the very, very first list that I created back in 2010. Can you guys believe that the iPad has been around since 2010? It feels like it's been around forever, but 14 years is still 14 years. And I remember when apps first started coming out, I thought, ooh, that one is good because it has captioning. Or, oh, that one is great because you can use it for listening therapy. Or, oh, I really like that app because I can use that when I'm counseling someone on how the ear works. And so on the right, you see all of the different categories of apps that I've kind of collected over the years. I started out with Apple devices, and then as Android devices started becoming more popular, people asked me to create one also for Android, and that's what you see on there as well. How many people in this room have ever used a speech-to-text app? So to be able to understand what someone else is saying if you're not able to hear them. This chart, or this list, what it does is it looks at a bunch of different products. So we're looking not only at apps, but we're also looking at things like Microsoft PowerPoint or Teams, or even just like the operating system for Windows or for Mac computers. And what I did is I looked at all of these different products, and then down the y-axis, I looked at all of these different features. Does it work on iOS? Does it work on Android? Is it free? Can you use it offline? Can you translate? Okay. And so then I indicated kind of on this list or this chart which devices are compatible with which feature. And I know many people have used this. If you go to the top along the x-axis, right underneath the product is a hyperlink that tells you how to do it. So basically, as I was doing this research myself, I went ahead and saved the link for you so that you don't have to hunt for it. You can just look at it and see what those features are. People have asked me, Tina, what are your favorite apps? What do you use every day? So I made a slide. I can talk on the phone. I can talk on the phone pretty well, but I have, even after, 24 years of having my cochlear implant, I still get what we call phone anxiety. Meaning that I can answer the phone, but I'm always scared that I'm gonna misinterpret something or mishear something. So I like to use InnoCaption. If you didn't know, apps that caption telephone calls are completely free for the user. So me as a deaf or hard of hearing person, I can use this app for free. And the reason that I like InnoCaption is because not only does it use kind of automated captioning, but it can also, you can switch in the middle of a call and use a live cart writer. So what you see for captioning right now at the bottom of the screen is being done by a person, I don't know, who may be in Florida in their pajamas, I don't know. And what they're doing is they're listening to the signal through my microphone, and they're using a stenograph machine, like a court reporter. And they are able to use their ears. If they were here in the room, they could use their eyes. but also they can hear, or if there was background noise, they would know how to spell proper nouns. Whereas sometimes with automated captioning, it's not as accurate. The other thing is accented speech. Automated speech recognition doesn't always do so great with accents, and so a cart writer like this would do a better job. So why I love InnoCaption, and I'm not paid by them or anything like this to have this testimonial, is the fact that you can use either ASR captioning if someone's in a, has clear speech and is in a quiet situation, or you can switch in the middle of a call to use a live person, like what we have captioning this session right now. I also, because I love music and because I have, well, they're almost not teenagers anymore, but when they were younger teenagers, I remember being in the car and thinking, what's that song? And not just what's that song, what are those lyrics? Okay. And there are apps that are out there that can listen to the music and it will tell you what's the name of the song, who's the artist, and bring up lyrics. Okay, so some examples you see there. Siri is great for that. You could just say, Siri, what's a song? And it will tell you. I also have a Ring doorbell. I think the Ring is most used to let me know when I have like my 8 millionth Amazon package that has arrived outside my door, so I can go and pick it up. But I love that I can integrate my Ring with my Alexa, which sits on my desk, so that if I'm working on my computer, I actually see a video of who's at my door, which is very helpful. And so Alexa, use that all the time. I love the fact that Alexa has captioning. So anybody here do sourdough baking? Okay, this is my new addiction, is doing sourdough. So there's constantly oven timers and things going off, reminding me to check my sourdough and things like that. I don't always walk around my house, especially when I'm alone, with my cochlear implants on. I love what we call deaf o'clock. I love being able to take off my cochlear implants and have complete silence. Well, Alexa can listen for things like a timer. And I have it set up so not only do I get an audible kind of notification on my Alexa, I see it with captions, and it will flash a light in my house. So I've kind of set my house up to be smart home that way. I have an air fryer that also connects to my phone. And so if my toast is done, it will send me a notification on my phone, which is great, which also goes to my watch. GalaPro, I talked about theater. So GalaPro is an app that is used mainly on Broadway, but also with some of the touring casts that go across the United States. And what GalaPro does is it provides you captions for a Broadway show. So when I want to go somewhere, that is something that I can use. So those are some of my favorite apps. I also wanted to point out the different accessibility features that you can find on iOS and Android devices. So this is very condensed. I do a whole presentation just on this topic. But know that if you click on this link, you will see kind of a summary and directions on how to make Apple devices accessible for people that are deaf or hard of hearing. And I will have a link also for Android. But this chart right here, what it does is it compares Apple to Android, and it shows you kind of like, quick bird's eye view of the different accessibility features. I am an Apple stockholder, but I have an Android phone. So I'm team Android. If there's one thing that would convince me to become an iPhone user, it would be the Apple Watch, because there are some things on the Apple Watch that you can't do on Android watches. And you can see that here on this chart. If you didn't know, how many people here, let's do a quick poll. How many people here have iPhones? How many people have Android? Okay, pretty typical. When I do polls like that, it's usually 5 to 1, 6 to 1, 7 to 1. In the deaf and hard of hearing community, I see the same thing, is that a majority of people have iPhones. How many people here have ever turned on this live captions feature on their phone? Okay. So what this feature does, it's only available on your phones. And one of the things that you can do is speech to text. So when you enable this feature, if someone needed to have a transcription of what you're saying, you click on the little icon, click on the record button, talk into the phone, and you will see the speech to text output. The other thing that you can do with live captions is it will also caption media. So any videos that you have going on your phone. I love the fact that it captions phone calls and FaceTime. This has been a game changer for grandmas and grandpas around the world that can't understand their grandchildren on FaceTime, even though they have some lip reading information. I like the fact also that this app will work offline. So if you're in a basement that has no cell phone signal and there's no Wi-Fi signal, you can use it. It's not going to be as accurate as if you were to be using it online, but it is nice to have this feature that way. What kind of blows my mind is that I know within the deaf and hard of hearing community, FaceTime and that front-facing camera was one reason that the deaf community kind of gravitated toward iPhone. And most of the time, once you start on a platform, you stay on that platform. But it blows my mind that this feature for captioning did not happen until October of 2022, okay? Before this feature was available, you had to use a third-party app in order to be able to use captions. So that was kind of weird to me. There is a video that I have here, but in the interest of time, I'm gonna go ahead and go on to the next slide. But it's gonna play, okay. What it looks like when you want to caption a phone call. So if you're gonna be using live captions, you wanna make sure that you turn this microphone icon off by pressing it. So here we go. There's no sound right now, or it's very quiet. That's what it looks like when you are captioning a phone call. So of course you all know me and my love for Broadway in Chicago. So that is a number that I call quite a bit. So you can see what it looks like when you are making a phone call. It's really nice to be able to have that captioning available. But again, you need to remember that it says live captions across the top. I'll show you what that looks like again. And that it's not showing microphone, because if you have microphone pressed, then it's not going to work. Another feature that is very, very useful is sound recognition. How many people here travel solo sometimes? They go out and they're the only ones in their room. One of the things that I travel solo a lot. One of the things that makes me nervous at night is because when I take off my cochlear implants, I hear nothing. What if the fire alarm was to go off? What if someone was knocking on my door or something like that? How am I gonna know about that? Well, I know that there are sometimes, accessible rooms in hotels that have, visual alerts. I know that there are hotel kits that you can get that have some of this, but I always have a backup to a backup. And so I will turn on sound recognition on my phone to alert me if something is happening in my room. I know some people will then wear their Apple Watch at night, overnight, and they will get their signal that way. In a few slides, when I talk about Android devices, I'm gonna show you the cradle that I use when I am traveling. But sound recognition is something that's very useful if you want to be aware of like the baby crying, or if the dog is barking, or again, if a timer is going off. So we see that also on Apple devices. live listen. If you have made for iPhone hearing aids, or even if you have a wearable like AirPods or something like that, this is an example of a feature that will make your phone a remote microphone. So you wear your devices and you can take your phone and place it in the middle of the table, and you can, and if someone is talking into your phone, you should be able to hear them better than, especially in background noise. I heard of some kids that they like to eavesdrop on their families by accidentally leaving their phone in the middle of the table and leaving live listen on. But that is one way that you can use it. I don't recommend this be something that's used in a classroom setting. It's not, the microphone on an iPhone is just not as good as those transmitters that I was showing you earlier in this presentation. Closed captions. The first thing I want to let you know is that there is a difference between closed captions and subtitles. Okay? Subtitles are what I'm reading if I'm watching The Amazing Attorney Woo, which is a Korean drama or a K-drama. They are speaking one language and the text at the bottom is being spoken in another language. It does not tell me about any of the non-speech sounds that you might find, in the broadcast. Okay, so that's subtitles. Then you have captions, which assumes that the person can't hear. So the person is speaking in English and you're reading the captions in English. It will also, if we just started clapping right now, because this is a fantastic presentation, it would say applause, in parentheses to indicate non-speech sounds, okay? And I noticed that lots of different platforms and apps use these interchangeably, but I just want you to know that they really are different, okay? On the iPhone, I see this, and on Apple devices, I see this all the time, the exchange between subtitles and captions. But basically, when you see either of those terms, what they're saying is, we can caption media. We can caption a phone call, okay? Siri can be great, but it can also be frustrating. I know that one of the complaints within the deaf and hard of hearing community is some of these speech recognition or speech-to-text apps do not do well for people that have accented speech due to, English not being their first language, or people that have speech that is affected by not being able to hear their own voice, or people that have had an F2. And I'll be talking about an app that's Android only that is really good for that, okay? Again, you can use Siri for things like, what's that song? I know that speech therapists like to use Siri it's kind of a good motivator for kids when you're working on specific speech sounds as well, to see how Siri responds. Anybody here do karaoke? Okay. Apple Music has karaoke mode, where you can listen to a song and it'll bring up the lyrics. If you're doing a duet, like maybe Summer Nights from Greece, it will bring up the captions for both parts. Okay, so this is kind of fun. So let's talk about Android accessibility. This is what you will see. This is our accessibility page. Their version of speech-to-text is called Live Transcribe, and also for captioning media, it's called Live Captions. It's very confusing. There are multiple apps called Live Transcribe. There are multiple apps called Live Captions. So people also kind of mix those up. My opinion, this Android version is a lot more deaf and hard of hearing friendly. It was designed with Gallaudet University, which is the only university in the world that is for the deaf and hard of hearing population. Same thing, speech-to-text, media, phone calls, things like that. You can also save a transcript. So you can copy and paste the text, and you can send it to a Word document or in an email, which is great. So here's what it will look like. And no, it's not. It's the same idea, like what I can show you like this. So I have Live Transcribe running on my phone, And so let's say I was just texting someone, I just press a button down here, and when I start talking, the captions just start like that. I don't have to click another button. I wish I could do pinch to zoom to make the text bigger. Otherwise, I have to go into settings to do that. If you've never used a speech-to-text app before, this is how I use it. If I'm talking with a friend that's deaf or hard of hearing, I will take my phone and I will hold it under my chin. That way we can have eye contact, they can read by lips, and they can read the captions at the same time. Okay? Another thing that's really useful is if you take this remote microphone, which is Bluetooth, and you connect it to your phone, I can pass this around to several people if I want to be the one to read the captions. And because this microphone is close to the speaker's mouth, it's going to be more accurate. Okay? So that's how I like to use Live Transcribe. This cradle that you see on the screen, this is how do I do okay. So this cradle that you see here on the screen, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I travel with. It's in my suitcase right now. And what it does is it picks up the vibration from my phone when I get a notification, and it will light up, and there's a bed shaker. So I use it for my alarm, and I also use it for sound notification.
Tina, I don't want to interrupt you, but we have 4 minutes left for
Yes.
the Q&A, so
Yep.
I just want to give people a chance.
Thank you.
Okay.
So the next few slides are some examples of some speech-to-text apps. I'll let you look at them. You can see it also on the feature grid. This is the app that I wanted to point out called Project Relate. This is Android only. This was actually the man that helped create Live Transcribe is deaf. He's also Russian. He has a very kind of thick accent and is difficult to understand. Project Relate was designed for people with non-standard speech. Okay, so people, like I talked about, they're using it with people that have Parkinson's, people that have had strokes and things like that. You have to sign up to use this app. It's in beta, and you train the app to your voice patterns. And that means reading 500 cards. But once you do that, if someone has a hard time understanding your speech, you talk into this app, and it will transcribe what you're saying. So I just wanted to make sure to point that out. If you need to use translation, these are my 2 favorite apps, Google Translate and Microsoft Translator. If you are in a group setting, if everyone is able to use their phones, they can use them as a remote microphone also in a group setting. So that's really cool. I talked about the importance of microphones. The one in the middle is a shotgun microphone. I know that not a lot of phones anymore even have a headphone jack. You might need to use some kind of adapter. But during COVID, when people had masks and we had to be 6 feet away and I couldn't understand them, having that shotgun mic to kind of like zoom in on someone's voice was really, really helpful. If you record, how many people here use like TikTok or social media and upload videos? If you do, make them accessible, please. There are 2 apps. I'll show you the Apple app and the Android app where you record the video and it will add captions that you can then also go in and edit. So for Apple devices, it's called Clips. For Android devices, it's called AutoCap. And then if you like social media, I did the hunting for you. These are how you turn on captions on the various social media platforms. Okay. I'm going to leave you with resources, and the resources can be found on I call it my blog site. You can take a picture of the QR code, or you can also go to the link. And that's where you can see some of the blogs that I have about technology, more lists of my lists. And with that, I have 53 seconds to answer any questions.
I was going to say we are at time, but thank you. That was a wonderful presentation. We're going to be breaking for lunch after this, so if you want to ask a question, I encourage you to go find Tina Childress.
Okay, so I will be around at least for the next couple of hours before I catch a flight to Philly for another presentation. So thank you for your attention. How many people learned at least one new thing? Excellent, job accomplished.